what is it?
331. Yep.
331. Okay. Okay. Is there any public comment? I can't tell whether there's anybody in the room.
No one in the room.
Okay.
Peggy, is anyone online?
No hands raised?
Okay. Communication, we had 2 letters from people on Beach Road, one of whom watched the whole meeting and the other one was at the meeting. The first one is a very long letter. Now, should I read that? Or, I mean, you've all seen it, but do we still need to read that?
Probably, I think you could just summarize it.
Okay, well, basically, sure. So the first one is from Pam Schumann, and she is on Beach Road. She was the one who watched the meeting on the Zoom, and basically, a lot of her concerns were mostly enforcement of both vehicle and pedestrian behavior. I mean, things like commercial trucks parking, blocking the roadway, pedestrians not wearing reflective gear or carrying a flashlight. She would like to see a more significant police presence to enforce the speeding there. So these were a lot of things that, or cameras installed somewhere prominently on Beach Road. These are things, as I said, that are primarily enforcement issues. And basically, of course, enforcement issues, as Scott has pointed out, are very labor intensive. I mean, you've got to have people there sort of a lot of the time. And whether that's feasible or not. So then she also talked about, well, she talked about possible lighting, sort of lower lighting than your typical street lights. Now, one of the things, though, so that was that. Yeah, it was mostly that sort of thing, sort of enforcement issues. The second letter was from Dogan Perez, also of Beach Road, who attended the meeting. I'm sorry, yeah, the first woman, she actually watched it all on the Zoom. This Dogan Perez actually attended the meeting, and he basically had one suggestion, and that was, why not directly survey the Beach Road property owners to receive their feedback about Beach Road bike and pedestrian project? So, I mean, I don't know. We're having these community meetings. I don't know whether we would want to enhance that with an actual survey. I don't think that's something that we have to decide right now. I mean, we're going to have a lot of other opportunity for community involvement before we necessarily need to get to that stage. And you all have received the letters, I believe. I think that Stephanie circulated that in the package, right?
Yes.
Any comments on those letters?
I think a lot of the issues that she raises in a few weeks, probably next month, maybe, Calvin, we'll be doing our whole safety discussion. And a lot of what she brings up are the types of things we'll be discussing at that meeting, I would think, when we address that in an agenda item.
Right. Okay.
Definitely keep
Okay,
all
so
that
then the
in mind.
next item is review of the February 3rd community meeting on Beach Road feasibility study. And thanks for the minutes on that, Stephanie. Those are very helpful. I mean, I have to say, I thought the meeting was a very useful meeting. Not everybody agrees with doing something. I think it was pretty clear that the real people who have concerns primarily are concerned about walkers and people with strollers and runners rather than bikers. And then there's a very clear preference or feeling about keeping the character of that section of the road, and also obviously concern about what would be the impact on property owners. Now on safety, there was a lot on safety concerns, some of which is speeding. And, we get into the same thing where the data shows one thing in terms of adherence to the speed limit, and yet then there's people's perspective on it, what their perceptions are. And their perceptions, especially if they're walking, is that these cars are going very fast. So, one question we will have, I think, is, are there things that we can do that show that we are being sensitive to people's current concerns? And the two things that strike me is there was pretty clear, and this is not just from that meeting, but from other input, pretty clear two areas where maybe we could do stuff that would show that we're listening to people's concerns before we make any, major kinds of decisions or, get involved in any kind of infrastructure changes, because those will all take time. One is that visibility at Beach Road and Nauset Heights Road intersection. And so are there things that we can do there? And then the other one is right there by, what's the name of the place there?
Dorn.
Where the East Orleans Post Office and Adorn, that's.
Yeah, that's a Main
also-
Street, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's going to be picked up in the Main Street thing, you think?
Yes.
Okay, so the other one then is Nauset Heights, and we've gone back and forth on that without coming to any conclusion. Is that something that we should be looking at more thoroughly to try to come up with something?
Peter, Stephanie, once again, so many of these speeding issues are things that we're going to be discussing when we go into the whole discussion on safety. And
Yeah.
it's everybody is coming up with repetitively the same problems. Landscape trucks everybody mentions landscape trucks and the problems that they cause with speeding, and then everybody always is concerned about can we do more to reduce speeds? And so
Right.
when Calvin and Scott talked to us about what we can do, I think a lot of those speeding concerns, a lot of those safety concerns we'll be able to address quite soon.
Yeah.
And then also, I thought the same thing as you, that the general feeling was everyone wanted a sidewalk, but they want to keep it natural and they want to make it as minimal as possible. And what we were showing from VHB is what we were showing was two options that were much more aggressive than that. Our conclusion from all of us when we had the discussion at our meeting back in November, and then when the public was here talking about those same issues, everyone is coming up with the same result. And the result is the only thing we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to do a sidewalk on one side. And I know at the end of the public meeting, Josh from VHB had said to us, should I go ahead and work on another option on the feasibility study for just a sidewalk on one side? And we had said, no, wait until we have a meeting so we can discuss it. and decide if that's what we want to do. I guess my question would be, and Doug, you would be the one most, you and Calvin would be the ones most qualified to answer this. Is there any debate between whether a sidewalk, if that is the next the next option that we ask for from VHB, is there any debate on whether that should go on the north side or the south side? Or on Beach Road, are we, because of the number of telephone poles, does it just make it unfeasible to put it on the north side?
I don't think it's gonna be a continuous sidewalk on one side or the other. I think that it would end up, we'd have crosswalks. Where there's less impacts on one side or the other, we'd have to put it on.
Okay,
You know, we got slopes in some areas, so we'd probably wanna avoid that. You'd have it on the other side, or, I know there's, as you get further down towards Nauset Heights, there's some, houses there much closer to the road with driveways that are, you know, pretty limited in space, so you'd probably want it across the street there. So I think that it would end up kinda meandering down each side of the road.
and having multiple crosswalks? Okay.
Doug, do you think that makes,
That's an alternative, certainly. I mean,
Yeah.
that could be done, looking at both sides. As I think we mentioned before, you got drainage issues, you got grade issues.
right,
I think the original study was done years ago. It looked at all the south side because you didn't touch any utility poles. However, you did have to move some hydrants and things like that. So it's I think a push-pull. You need to sort of figure out which way you need to go.
right.
Now,
So, Go
Calvin,
ahead.
I would have a question on bringing people across on a crosswalk. I don't know, I'm trying to think of where would you do that, but if we were to do that, is there, instead of doing that, is there a possibility of pushing the road to one side? You know, the travel lanes, everybody what's that term they all use? Chicanes?
Lanes.
Chicanes, is there a possibility of a chicane? I picture it as the road doing a curve within the road bed, like a curve.
There is no road bed here.
Yeah,
What you have is a strip of 30 feet of asphalt, and if you leave that, you're onto private property.
okay,
So the idea of, I think you're right, the sidewalk can't go on doesn't go on one side or the other, but there's gonna be property takings if you do a sidewalk, because you're gonna need to be on either side.
I mean, that's just my opinion. I'm not, like, we'd have to take a deeper dive into it as if they were to go through with, you know, a conceptual design on a sidewalk down the road, they'd have to investigate the impacts of just a sidewalk. So, I mean, if it's something we want to investigate, we really should consider having them go ahead and see the impacts of just a sidewalk and go from there.
But what other guidance should we give them? I mean, shouldn't we, say, we want you to look at various things? I mean, for example, looking at, obviously, minimize impact on property owners, or is that going to be pretty much everywhere? Maintaining the character, dealing with these issues that you're talking about in terms of drainage and where there are utilities, so that they're not just,
That's all
Doing
stuff
this.
that they consider as part of their feasibility study, so.
yeah,
now, can we, as part of our contract, can we go back to VHB and say, all right, we're stuck because we know that the only thing we're going to be able to do is a sidewalk. And we want that sidewalk to be the least impactful for property takings and on property owners as possible. Can you, VHB, show us the best plan to put a 5-foot sidewalk on that street using both sides. I mean, is that one thing that we can ask them, or how?
That's definitely something they can look into for us.
Okay.
Question? I mean,
Yeah.
when is Main Street going to be, I know they've got the surveys done, from what I guess. But, I mean, I would think once Main Street is planned out, that continuation of that sidewalk on Beach Road is going to be, critical to design for Beach Road too, So I think it would need to flow in a similar manner, if we could, just thinking, so I don't know if VHB should get out in front to do Beach Road until we get Main Street done? I mean, is that,
I think that they have more options on Main Street, so, if we want to, have a more robust, pedestrian option and up until Beach Road, or if we think that we're only gonna be able to do a sidewalk, from, the Barley Neck split down, if we want to have them consider, the same alternative throughout Main Street, so it's kind of up to whether we want more options down Main Street as opposed to Beach Road,
Beach Road? Okay.
Yeah.
So there could be more options for Main Street than Beach Road?
because we have the layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was kind of struck at the meeting by the woman from Adorn who spoke at great length about the danger right there in the East Orleans Center. And so if what we're talking about is improve Main Street, it will be interesting when we do get our results back from VHB, if we would be able, for a stretch of Main Street, to have sidewalks on two sides, particularly in that very busy area where there's the Barley Neck Inn, the Rail, Adorn, the post office, the Windmill Plaza. If, through that area, there's a possibility of having sidewalks on both sides, then that would give us some flexibility as we approach Beach Road of where the sidewalk on Beach Road goes, if it's there. And then there's also the complication of where Barley Neck Road comes into Main and Beach, right at that corner. So that whole intersection there, I would think, when we do Main Street, will be improved upon. So it would give us a lot more flexibility going into Beach Road. It wouldn't be, oh, we have to do the north side on Beach Road, or we have to do the south side. If we had sidewalks on both sides in that stretch of the East Orleans Village. But we won't know that for a while.
It's
Right.
certainly a possibility, and just looking quickly, I think there are sections currently that,
They do have sidewalks on both sides right now, yeah. Or from Nauset Farms, even right before Nauset Farms, I think there is a sidewalk on the south side that goes all the way up through Adorn and the Weekend, and then it kind of drops off. It doesn't make it, once it gets where Barley Neck comes in there, there's no, it stops right there. I think it's in front of the Weekend that it stops. But those are all, I think they're like brick, and I don't know if they're private, the property owners privately put those in, or if it's something the town did. I don't know what the history of those is.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of both there. I think there's some brick sidewalk the town put in, and then I was told there was a section that a property owner put in to try and match it. But, we'd have to look out our layout and the bounds of
Right.
that and see what we can do within it.
So, George, one of the meetings that we had, you were talking about, we've had this contract with VHB for 2 years now, and it'd be a good idea to get this contract wrapped up.
Yes,
So,
I agree.
what would be your thought about what we should be doing at this point with the contract? Should we be going back to VHB? What should we go back to them with?
I think the point's well taken about Main Street and Beach Road, but here we are. This is what we have before us. Main Street, I think, is going to continue to progress toward a project, and we're probably going to have to do a lot of minimizing of that project to make it financially palatable, because the town has a lot of capital improvements, a lot of capital needs, staring in the face. So, you know, VHB has only a limited amount of resources they're gonna dedicate to this project. If they've got two options, well, maybe we ask them to look hard at an option to put in a continuous sidewalk, whether it crosses the street or not, to minimize impacts on neighbors, both property impacts and improvement impacts. To try, perhaps ask them to try to stay on one side of the road if possible, and come back to us with some concepts of what they think is practical there. I think we're getting to the end of what we can do in this format.
Right.
And it may be that because Main Street is scheduled for, I think, FY '31, and a beach road project, unless you get a big grant from somebody you don't know yet, a beach road project is probably after that. It may be the best thing we can do here is to try to cast the end of this project in its best possible light of what we think could be reasonably accommodated, will have the least negative impact on neighbors, and will provide for a safe way for people to access the beach via bike or walking for the long term. And we submit a report to the Board of Selectmen, present that report. We say, this is where we are, because this is what we are charged with for this purpose. We're done with this study. Unfortunately, I mean, we had 68 people show up at this February 3rd hearing. That's a lot of people.
That
A lot of
is.
interest.
Yep.
Kudos to Stephanie and others who made sure a personal invitation went out to every property owner. You got people's attention. But what I heard was neither all for nor all against, but I heard a lot of concerns about impacts on personal values. I heard some issues about cost, and I think if we minimize this project to what can we do to just improve safety down there via one sidewalk somewhere, I think that's what I would favor at this point with all the information we've got so far.
Yeah. And I think that was the feeling in the room, too. It was a sidewalk. Well, how can we best do a sidewalk without impacting property? So
Yeah.
do we all want to just agree that what Calvin goes back to Josh with is just what George was saying, that,
I would maybe think about where it's gonna end, the sidewalk. Is it gonna end at the new entry point for where the new auto entrance is? In other words, the sidewalk would end at that point, and then you could enter and use the existing infrastructure going down to the beach? I mean, that would save a little bit of money from having to continue the sidewalk down to the beach.
Sure.
The old
You want to put a bike rack at the bottom of the hill there, and people can still park
Yeah.
their bikes
I
there.
mean, I was just thinking that, it might be easier we should tell them where the end point is,
Right.
the sidewalk.
Well, right now, the study area goes all the way to Nauset Beach.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking about maybe we want to just go to the entry, the new entry, where we have infrastructure and sidewalks,
Yeah.
and people can actually use that and get to the beach.
Well, wait, are there sidewalks as you go down from?
I think there are sidewalks, right, past
No.
those new buildings and
no, there aren't.
the old building?
No, there's no sidewalks.
There's no
from
sidewalk?
those- No, there's no sidewalks from the entry. And the
there's
thing of it
sidewalks
is,
from-
it may
sidewalks from
end up
parking.
engineering-wise that that's what we want to do, but for a feasibility study, probably just having them do it all the way to the beach, and then when we get to the point of, okay, where can we cut back on money?
always
that
dial
would
it
be
back
a-
when you get to
yeah,
bidding it.
when you get it, yeah.
Good option.
If there's no sidewalk there, human nature, people are gonna see the ocean and just walk to the ocean. They're not gonna make a right and go through the parking lot.
Pretty safe.
Yeah.
Right.
I wonder what Mr. Prentice thinks of this way forward.
What do you think, Doug?
Well, as I said, I think you look at your options. I think you want the big enchilada, but sometimes you got to go in baby steps and take it, cautiously as you move along. There are going to be impacts, regardless. There are, and it's just the way it is. Laying out the road is a whole other issue in itself. But it seemed to me if you run something, you run it all the way down to the beach. And I think what Joel or was it Bob said that you're going to walk straight to the water. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So Doug, what did you think of George's suggestion that?
I think that makes sense.
yeah.
Yep, makes sense. There's some logical order there.
Yeah.
God bless you.
I think
Yeah.
with the term least impactful, like, for example, he had buffers. Is that a nice to have? Can we maybe eliminate the buffer, still keeping within the current standards and everything, but does that give us another couple of feet possibly? But I think that's the key of what's the least narrowest width, roads and sidewalk.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what's aesthetically, without cutting trees and tearing up people's driveways and what have you.
The, from the meeting in the minutes, what I noted, and I think, I thought the meeting went very well, by the way, Peter. I thought you did a great job running it, making it non-confrontational, and I thought everybody was, George, I don't know what your opinion was, but I thought everybody was very cooperative, and I thought the way you did it, Peter, was good too, where you made everybody come up to the microphone and speak, because we've had previous meetings where people have been shouting things out from their chair, and it just became way too messy, and I thought that was very orderly, and
No, people were very civil.
they were. And Griffin took notes, and what I have in the meeting minutes for number 4 on public comment, I just used the notes that he wrote up on the board. And what he was suggesting is the number 1 was 10-foot travel lanes, 2-foot shoulders, and the 6-foot sidewalk as being the most favored. Now, as close as Josh could get to that, that would be probably the preferred way to go.
Yeah,
I mean-
I think Josh was able to, take the feedback in the room
Yep.
as well, and
Yep,
I think he knows the direction that it's heading, so, I can chat with him, and if he has anything to add, I can come back to you guys and see if there's something we wanna adjust, and before we move forward with picking an alternative, we can circle back to it with his suggestions from what he heard from the meeting as well.
great.
Okay, but on this question of the buffer, Doug, does it make sense to have no buffer between the path and the road? I mean, shouldn't there at least be like a 2-foot,
Grass
I don't
strip.
know what,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So when you talk about a Cape Cod berm, that's grass or rather than anything hard.
It's like an
right?
asphalt berm with a grass strip. And if you can't have that separation, then you need vertical separation with a curb of some sort.
So is that a compromise that we'd be willing to make, or we do the Cape Cod curb with a 2-foot buffer? Because we lose 2 feet.
Well, I think you might, prioritize the Cape Cod berm, but in some spots, we might be, down to needing to have a curb in some spots. So that's something they'd look at when they see their impacts.
Yeah, when you add up the 10-foot sidewalk, the 2-foot shoulder, and 6-foot, that gives you 18. And I think legally, if you don't have, a 3-foot grass strip, then you have to go the curb. But there may be places on the road that maybe there is 1 extra foot, so you could get the 3-foot strip and a 6-foot sidewalk, or you might have to go down to, it would be up to him when he went down to a granite curb or was able to fit in a grass strip. So you'll be talking with him, and then maybe at our next meeting, come back to us with what he thinks his next step should be, just from what he saw as the conversation?
Yeah, I'll definitely get his input and see what his take was on it.
Okay.
Okay, any other thoughts on that, though?
See if you get any concerns about a 10-foot travel lane with a granite curb next to it.
Those are tight. It'll be interesting to see
There are a
how
few
that.
that are popping up on the Cape, and they make it kind of scary.
Sure do, yeah.
Yeah.
A 10-foot, what about a 10-foot travel lane with a 2-foot shoulder? Is
Well,
that,
at least there's a berm to hit.
Because now the width of the width of the lanes now, is it 12 feet?
right now? I thought it was
Yeah.
11. I think that's what he had said, 11. Yeah.
Oh,
You got enough to work with to ask VHB to go back? Yeah, this is, after all, a feasibility study.
Yep.
We're getting down to, given all the politics and the limits of, the physical limits, we'll get down to what's feasible here. Whether it's acceptable, that's a different story.
We'll see what we can do with keeping a buffer and maximizing lane width, while having a sidewalk on one side or the other.
Okay, good. Sounds good.
You're saying yes to everything.
I think that most
Keep it small.
alternatives, he was able to keep a 10.5-foot travel lane, but I'll talk to him about it.
okay.
Okay. So for our next meeting, I'll put that on the agenda. Great.
Yeah, that he will come back to us with his ideas of how to
What he thinks,
proceed,
yeah,
what it would, okay,
what the next option should be.
okay. Okay, then, the next item is the major projects timeline discussion.
Yes.
And part of that, though, it depends on the item beyond that, the VHB results of the field study. And I'm not clear on the timing of that. Is that ready or not quite?
I haven't got any results yet. So
Okay,
not much of an update there.
okay.
Now, Peter, I had asked you to put that on as an item because we had a discussion last time, and I'm sounding like a broken record here, but the whole thing about the CIP. And what I printed out, or in your packet, I have a graph that shows just the current things on the CIP. And
Yeah.
that is, right now, what was in black is what is now on the CIP, and what is in red is what I was hoping we could discuss, that maybe we could move to. What is
Right.
currently on the CIP is the 500K for an engineering design in FY '27, and what we talked about was putting that on the November town warrant. We wouldn't be ready
Right.
for it to be on the spring town warrant. Now,
Right.
what we then show is in FY '31 is where we're showing $6 million on the CIP for construction. And what I showed was, can't we move that up? Can't we move that up to fiscal year '28? Now, last meeting when we discussed this, we were talking about Old Colony. And that Old Colony had been on the CIP for engineering design work in fiscal year '28 and construction in '30. But I went back to our meeting minutes back in October. And in October, we took a vote, and we had decided that we couldn't simultaneously be working on both
Right.
Old Colony and on Main Street, and that Main Street was our priority, because Old Colony may not be perfect, but Old Colony has a sidewalk, and Main Street
Exactly.
doesn't. And so we had decided at that time that what we would do is we would change where Old Colony was. And the vote that we took at that meeting was, let me find it, that we would move $350,000 for an engineering design of Old Colony to fiscal year '29, and the construction of $3 million to fiscal year '31.
Right.
So we made a unanimous decision on that. So what we were doing is we were moving Old Colony into fiscal year 29, which I show in the red, and the construction of Old Colony into fiscal year 31.
Right.
So the construction of Main Street, that should be our priority.
Yeah.
And having it sit right now at fiscal year 31, I know it can be moved up, but if we don't have more urgency behind it, I feel like it's just going to keep slipping and slipping, or we're just going to ignore it because it's so far out. So is
Right.
there a way that we can move the construction funds for Main Street up to fiscal year 28? Now, what I did also do, I sent out another graph where I spelled out timelines. And it wasn't in a graph form, it was just, maybe it is when you see it, when I printed it, it wasn't. And what I looked at, Peter, you had asked me to do this because you had said, how is all of this going to fit together? So
Right.
if we're talking about money for Main Street, and then we're talking about, and public meetings, how are we going to address Main Street and Beach Road simultaneously? So if what we are talking about, we have not had any public meetings on Main Street for the field survey. So if we're going to be getting, our assumption is we will get that field survey result for Main Street in April? Is that
Yeah,
a
I
fairly
mean,
good assumption, Calvin?
When I had originally talked to them, they were thinking around this time, so I would expect to be able to share results by next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be very useful.
All right. So if we said that in my column that I have timeline for Main Street, if we said we got that in April, that we got the field survey results, then we would want to have a community meeting where we discuss those field survey results. And what I was looking at a community meeting was for sometime in May.
Right.
What would everybody think about that? A community meeting on the field survey results in May?
I think it would just depend on seeing the results. So we haven't seen them yet.
Yeah.
You know, they
I,
said that
I think the
they'd be-
timeline was very useful in terms of at least trying to hit those markers. The one question I have is, at what point do we brief this select board? In other words, do we go with, once we have the field survey and we have deliberated on it? And that would, I guess at that point, that we'd also have had our community meeting. I mean, I think for them, they would be interested in what the community meeting yields. But I think before we get to the point of suggesting final decisions on designs, someplace we should have a time for briefing the select board.
Yeah,
So
I didn't enter that on a timeline. What
No,
I
I
was trying
know.
to do on that timeline was just say, okay, we're going to hear from VHB in April. And
Right.
then could we have a community meeting then in May?
Right.
After the community meeting, do we want to put a select board meeting or not?
I would ask people like George what your recommendation is.
I thought Calvin summed it up, that until we see the results of the field survey, we really don't have an idea of how we want to queue everything up just yet. I apologize for being kind of a linear thinker, but I really would like to see that and get a
Yeah.
feel for it before we commit to a time frame. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I'm not saying commit to a time frame. I'm just saying, let's have in the back of our mind what we want to have done between now and the November warrant period. And so I thought it was important for us to have a timeline in mind. And yes, it wouldn't, I mean, if we're saying we don't know what they're going to say when they come back in April, well, then we also have a May meeting to discuss it. So maybe we wouldn't be able to have a community meeting until June, but at least let's start thinking about where is that timeline? What is it? What's the best case scenario? If the best case scenario is we get it from them in April, we have a community meeting to discuss the results of it in May, then we go back to talking to VHB in June, and then after going through that with VHB in June, we come back in July for another community meeting with more definites. Then in August, can we then at that point say, okay, fine, we've got enough of an idea of what we want for a design that we can at that point start working on getting that as a line item on the November town warrant. I just
Okay,
want to
but-
make sure that we're thinking forward enough so that it just doesn't, like, we let 2 and 3 months go and suddenly it's September, it's too late, we haven't planned enough in advance of where these slotted things should go.
Okay, but that whole thing, leaving those options available, depends on us getting the field survey results
Right, it
before
does.
our next meeting.
Yes, it does.
So is that something that we need to really stress with VHB? Is that unreasonable to stress that with them? I mean, they've been out there doing
From our
some
previous
work.
conversations, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect the results, but I haven't got an update since our community meeting for Beach Road, so I can talk to him and see if there's been any changes, and if there are any changes, I'll circle back with the group. And
Yeah, I mean,
go from there. I
that's,
mean, we want a thorough survey. We want to give them enough time to really process the survey so that when we go for design and construction, we have all our ducks in a row and we know what
Sure.
we're getting into.
Yep.
So, well, I like getting things done and trying to be aggressive with timelines. It's best to have a thorough.
Absolutely it is, yeah. What I was trying to do in doing a timeline is just kind of plan out where, we have to hit certain things at certain times, and can we? And so if what our goal is within this timeline to get by our next meeting, a report from VHB on the engineering survey, that's fine. That checks off number one, and that's all we can do at this point. Because if we don't check off number one, you can't go any further. One of the other things that, as I was going through trying to put this together, dawned on me, is if we get to town meeting in November and we're asking for $500,000 on a warrant article and it does not pass, that's it. I mean, if we can't get three-quarters of the people in town, or 2/3, whatever's necessary, to vote on the engineering design, we're never going to get the money for construction. So it's kind of like we will be dead in the water at that point for this go-round of ever trying it. I mean, and if we can't get $500,000 for an engineering design on Main Street, you can forget Beach Road. So that really will be, our November warrant asking for engineering design money for Main Street is going to tell us a whole lot about, can we do anything? If we can't get that, then we just really, the only thing we can do is some striping or whatever else that might be safety. But we're not going to be able to do any kind of construction project if we can't get it for that, so.
so Calvin, when VHB comes back with the survey for Main Street, will it show to what extent it would require brand-new construction? To what extent it would require just repairing of existing? And to what extent there would be information about utilities? Or
The survey is only gonna show the right-of-way overlaid on what's
Yeah.
currently out there. It's not gonna have any sort of like conceptual design attached to it or
Yeah.
condition assessment of the current facilities out there. I would recommend if we're going through this, I don't think there's a part of that sidewalk that you wouldn't want to replace if you're doing a new sidewalk.
Right.
Street.
Okay, okay.
How about the little cart paths that are only 18 inches wide? You want to, those are rural character right there.
Just put shell on them.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so the priority is to get VHB to provide the survey, if at all possible, in time for our next meeting, for our April meeting.
Now, on the timeline also, what I might add is, what I was trying to do is also look at simultaneously, if we have Beach Road going on, what steps should we be taking for Beach Road over the next couple of months? And what George had talked about was, let's get the feasibility study completed. And so if we're looking at when should we do that, probably have another community meeting
On Beach Road,
about Beach Road in the August timeframe.
would there be what do you think it is, the purpose for another community meeting on Beach Road?
If what we're going back to VHB and saying we want just a sidewalk on one side, then we would bring that to the community. Just to say that this is the end of the feasibility study, this is where we stand. I mean, they very much want to be involved and they want to know what's going on. So to go back and have VHB to do that design or do that feasibility study, I felt from everybody in the room, they really wanted to be notified of things that were going on, so we should go back to them. And August, September timeframe would be a good time to do that. You don't think we need to?
I think we've heard loud and clear the breadth of opinions that are out there on Main Street. I think we need to find a way to blend a project into what is most reasonable, given all the input we've gotten, and then we make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. I personally don't think we need to go and ask people again
Okay,
the
Yeah.
same kind of questions, but, you know, I'm open to it. I make enough missteps, I'm open to learn.
maybe next time, Griffin went through the same process over in Brewster for Underpass Road. Maybe next month, or the next time he's at our meeting, we could ask him what he would think about, do we need to go back with that or not?
I mean, you're not at design here, you're at the feasibility study level.
That's right, yep.
We'll get into design, and design will have a public hearing associated with it.
Yeah,
So it might be we need to do work to move the concepts forward without asking people to come to another meeting at this point. I don't know, that's my thought.
okay, all right,
Yeah, I think that's right.
okay. I had just thought from the feedback that we were getting at the meetings that the residents of Beach Road very much wanted to know every step of the way what we were looking at.
We could absolutely find ways to inform them every step of the way.
Okay, without a community meeting, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you all. Okay, so the next thing is this Mill Lane findings. And we had quite a bit of a discussion of that. And George, you were going to see if you had more information about what was in that permit or that license for the condos, what conditions under which it could be revoked.
I sent that to you, right?
You did.
What did it say?
It's
been a month. I think I did that like a half hour after the meeting.
Oh,
We can do that. I mean, this has been a tough week. I had thought we wouldn't
Yeah.
get beyond the discussion we were just having, but,
well, we're not going to be able to really do anything as a decision until the snow disappears and the foliage fills out.
do you have any idea what it was that you found about, it was called a
License agreement?
revocable license is what you
Yeah.
had called it.
Yeah, as I recall, we were not able to find in the town manager's office a copy of this license agreement. So the Board of Appeals did approve the project, and as I recall, there was a letter that went to the developer, who is long gone at this
Sure.
point,
Right.
that said the town reserves the right to go back and have that vegetation removed if at any time we find it to be hazardous. So I think we have, for public safety on a public way, we have the right to deal with it as we may. I would think that if, if you need wholesale removal to create the kind of visibility that's needed, you go back to the association and say you work with them on doing something that's minimal so it doesn't encroach as much in the future. And
Yeah.
ask the association to pay for it, because they're the ones that have benefited from using the right-of-way for so long.
Yeah. But we can't really do that, you agree, until we get, into the season when you can see what the impact of the foliage is.
Yeah, it's down right now. So why don't we just return to this in a meeting or two and see where we're at? And
Yeah,
I'll refresh all the materials that I sent to Calvin, so we can have something a little more cogent for you. Apologize for
that's
that.
fine. Yeah, I know, you guys have been doing a lot of other work, which is very much appreciated. Listen, after living in Northern Virginia during snowstorms, to see how well the roads are cleared here, I mean, it's no comparison. It's so much better here.
I understand that,
I'm just wondering,
avoiding that.
the resident came in asking about the no parking on the street, and
Yeah.
then we started talking about the vegetation. So they're not getting any no parking signs, and we're going to tell them to cut down the trees. So what, you shouldn't have come in? Is that, I'm just wondering, I don't disagree that maybe they should be cut
It
back.
highlighted a hazard, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that when she came in and asked for the no parking signs, there was a letter written to the committee about the sightline issues, and that's kind of where the vegetation.
We responded to the letter. Okay, okay.
Yeah, there was a previous letter, well, there was a letter from Jay, is it Marble?
Yes.
Who wrote it, that we got the last time.
And I
and the
do
chief-
not think that we've given her an answer on the signs, so that's something we
Right.
should circle back to.
So do we need to put a letter together saying that our discussion was that I can put it together restating what it was that Chief McDonald said about the signs and about the no parking signs, and Peter, you can send that out?
Yeah, we'll run it by Scott before
Okay.
we send it, but
All
I
right.
mean, he was basically saying that that was kind of a non-starter. But that if people are impeding the road, they can do some sort of a citation, but
Right.
we'll get that right from him. Okay,
So the answer would be that we'll go back to them with a letter about the no parking signs, and then the
Yeah.
other issue is still up in the air? Okay.
yes,
All right.
exactly. Okay, then we have Eldridge Parkway 6A update. This is that the state is considering to do something at that intersection, is that right, or?
The town has applied for a
Oh.
bottleneck grant to realign that intersection from 6A to Lots Hollow to allow for more queuing at the intersection to try and achieve better traffic flow and sightline onto 6A.
So the queuing would be on Eldridge Park Way?
Correct. So right now, there's, a bit of a curve in the road, and
Yeah.
kind of limits how many cars can queue to take the left-hand turn, and it creates a backup down Eldridge Parkway, which, as we know,
Right.
is pretty critical
Yeah,
exit out of town. So the idea would be to increase queuing, try and keep more traffic flow moving through those light intervals. We'll be talking with MassDOT to see if we can adjust timing. And right now, there isn't much of an update other than we should be hearing back whether our project moves on to the next stage relatively soon. The goal is for it to be completely grant funded, so.
Great.
great.
But is there an actual proposal? I'm curious to see how one could do that. I mean, would it involve widening, what,
It's-
Eldridge Park Way someplace, or?
It would, along where the old, where the power station is.
Oh, yeah.
The road would, shift that way slightly within the layout that we have.
Oh, I see.
And it would just get rid of the curve in the road, which would allow more space for it to,
Second lane of queuing.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'd have a second,
Oh.
be able to extend the left-hand turn lane.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Then there was the discussion with the Cape Cod Commission regarding the CCRT Orleans interchange.
Griffin isn't
Uh,
here.
Yeah, okay,
Do you know if he had a conversation with
I
them?
don't know. No.
okay.
I mean, he works for the town of Brewster, so I'm sure he's been in the same situation as,
Yeah.
as Jeff and Calvin have been.
Yeah, yeah. So this is at the intersection of 6A and the way to the CCRT? No.
The CCRT interchange down on Salty Ridge Road and West Road.
Oh, that's what
where
we're
it comes
talking
in.
about.
That was, he was going to talk to the
Oh,
Cape Cod
okay, yeah.
Commission about that.
Okay, okay,
So hopefully he'll be here next month and he can report back on that.
okay. Okay, other business, Joel had investigated this, the Champions Institute, which I understood it requires one citizen and one town employee. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I got an email from Transportation for Massachusetts, and this year, their Champions Institute, what they're doing is 10 pairs of a community advocate and an employee of a town. It involves 6 virtual meetings and 2 on-site meetings. I'm not sure where the on-site meeting is.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were going to have this on the agenda. I was doing some homework before, and I go, oh, better prepare. So I sent an email
okay.
about 2:30 this afternoon with a link that had more information about the Champions Institute. Timing probably isn't good after the storm, but wondering if, one of the town employees would want to join. I'm volunteering, but certainly, Bob, or if there's, someone else, Peter, Stephanie, that would want to partner. I think it's an opportunity for us to learn more from other experts and more peers across the state that are going through the same kinds of things with complete streets and trying to make the streets more conducive for vehicles, pedestrians, bikes.
What's the deadline for applying to be selected? Do you remember?
I believe it's March 31st. It's one app for the 2 people.
Right, so that's before our next meeting.
Right.
Um,
It's funny, everyone's looking away from me. No one wants to look at me as I'm talking. I don't know why.
I'm trying to understand what this actually is. Like what,
What's the ask?
no, what is the institute?
So it's an org, it's not a gov, so it's like a nonprofit. I don't know a lot about the organization. But, you know, in the description, they talk about complete streets and the environment for both roads and vehicles and pedestrians, so it's kind of vague. Doesn't,
Yeah, right,
a lot
right.
of, yeah.
I think that's why the reluctance to jump in is kind of, well,
What am I going to get out of it? How am I going to use the time for my job and for the community? I don't have a good answer.
yeah, right, right.
So that's a polite no?
What, right now, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's just something I'd have to research first.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get a little better sense of it, and before our next meeting, we can circulate what information you obtained, and then we can see if, you know, any town employee sees it as basically worth, whether they're willing to make the commitment to time, but.
Yeah, I
You
can
know,
do
I
a
think-
little bit more digging, and I think the key is what's in it for me, right? If you're
send,
gonna,
send some stuff around via email so we can kind of
yeah,
delve in a
Yeah.
little bit.
yeah. And I recognize timing couldn't be worse, you know, with everything that's going on, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Before we adjourn, could I go back to one thing?
sure,
And that is the CIP.
right.
So my question is, what is it that we need to do to move construction funds for Main Street forward? Is it in enough time? We don't know that we're going to need those construction funds until we have our November warrant article. So if in November, we're already into fiscal year 2027, in November, if we move if it passes and we get the engineering design, can we move the construction funds into fiscal year '28 at that point, or would it have to be before then? Because I thought it had to be in something for a year. And construction fund, I mean, between November and the May town meeting, that's not a year. So at what point should we be moving that $6 million construction funds into fiscal year 2028?
The CIP is not within the authority of this board. We are advisory committee.
Right.
The CIP funding requests are submitted by town staff, 4 months ago? And the DPW director, I think, submitted all the pieces for transportation. So, you know, Calvin, unless you know something that, you know, you can share with us, I'd be reluctant to try to push to change the years on that, because the DPW, quite frankly, has a deliberative schedule to get all the road maintenance, striping, everything else that's done on an annual basis, plus work in some capital improvement projects. So, you know, I'm not sure this is our place to move that so much as to move the project, help support moving the project along and answer the questions that get us to a actual project that the town can consider for funding. If your select board liaison were here, you know,
Yes.
he could,
Yes. Our select board liaison is Calvin.
oh, your select board liaison, I believe, is
Oh,
Mr.
oh,
Runyon.
I'm sorry, yeah.
And
Calvin is our.
he's obviously been involved in the CIP discussions to date, so I'm not sure that we can change those years from what they are right now, unless there's a very compelling reason to do so. I don't
But
think-
what is always of interest to me is when you look at the CIP, the Depot Square project, that is moved forward every year. And it's like, well, it's a placeholder. And so we have that Depot Square funding in there. We know we're not going to be able to use it this year. It's a placeholder and it will be moved forward. And I'm wondering, why can't we do something like that with Main Street? At least get a placeholder in here. So that would be a question for our select board liaison?
we could vote as a committee to request that they consider moving that up, but that's the extent of our ability to request that. I'm not sure I'm in a position to make that request with what I know right now.
Okay.
No, but I think, we have a lot of things to achieve before we have, I would say, credibility to make that suggestion. So, I mean, it's fine to keep it on a piece of paper, in line, while we while we work on the timeline. No? But at this
Well, I mean,
point,
we're quickly moving to the point of no return of not being able to get it into fiscal year '28. In fact, we're probably beyond that, because,
I don't think you'd even see design by the end of FY '28. How much time they'd need to get a complete design together.
okay,
I don't think it's realistic to put it into '28 anyways. And there are other projects in town that we need to strategize with before trying to just push it up there, so. I think we need to see the process through. You haven't even seen the field survey yet.
right. All right. All right, then my other question would be, we have other projects that we're working on. There is, like, you're talking about Eldridge Parkway. I was very interested that you just said that would probably be done mostly by grants.
There's a specific bottleneck grant program that it
Okay,
could potentially qualify for.
all right. The other things that the other projects we've been talking about on this committee was West Road, Salty Ridge, and the CCRT interchange on West Road and Beach Road. And I also put in there Thompson Road extension. To me, when if we do sidewalks on Main Street, and we've got the new recreation center that's right over there on Eldridge Park, it would be foolish not to extend a Main Street sidewalk down Tonsett Road extension for that continuity into the new Eldridge Park recreation facility. But where do we go? What is it that ends up being your criteria for putting things on the CIP? What is the criteria for getting things on the CIP or moved up on the CIP?
It's just a public interest or public need. Try to move things around, but it's also dependent on funding and what else is going on at the same time, so if there's another big request going up, you might not want to have something that's more controversial going up against it.
Yeah.
but where is there's always been this talk about reworking the intersection at Main and Tonsett. Would that be a time when people would look and it would occur to everybody that, yeah, if we're going to have all that development at Eldridge Park, we want to make it easy for people to get there? I don't know. Where does this discussion about Main and Tonsett intersection stand?
How are these priorities set, I guess would be the question. How are
Yeah.
the priorities of what those of us who live in the community want to see? How is a priority set for getting things on the CIP?
Mind if I jump? I think it'd be unfair to ask Calvin to try to address that
Okay,
Yeah.
with his duration with the town, because, we have a DPW director, obviously quite competent, but he's been in the job for a year and a half. There's an enormous amount to learn about the particularities of every community that just, to me, it's a 3 to 5 year learning
Learning
curve
curve.
before
Oh,
you really get the
absolutely.
community. So Mr. Waldo's doing an excellent job, not saying anything about that, but previous to him, Tom Daly was DPW director. And he had a grand scheme scheme being a neutral word, to go from down Tonsett Extension to that intersection you mentioned, Peter, and then down Main Street to Beach Road, and to try to make that a tip project and get the state to pay at least the majority portion of it. We never got to the point where we were able to file that, and Tom has since gone his way. And in the gap between DPW directors and, Calvin coming into the job, well, I think some of the overall schematic still has to be rebuilt of how we're going to plan the road network. So I think that those are fair questions you're asking, and there were things that have been on the table and will need to be on the table at some point. So right now, we're focusing on 3 projects, but I'm sure there are other intersection needs that we need to address. I can think of 3 of them without even thinking about it. So-
Certainly.
So the last thing I want to say is I believe it is the Department of Public Works that is responsible for identifying issue areas and putting forward significant projects that need attention over the long haul, so that we do this in a nice, orderly fashion, consistent with funding availability.
So at some point, could our committee have a discussion on what we see as the priorities for the next 10 years and lay out things like that? Well, we're getting, that project for Eldridge Park is going to be completed probably next spring, and we would like to be able to feel that children can move safely there, and we need to, and just have that kind of a discussion on the committee of, let's take the areas that we as a committee define as our top priority and bring it to you and to Rich and start getting those built out into the CIP. Would that be a way to do it, George?
I would actually flip that.
Okay.
I would want to get the DPW directors, to the extent that we can get you and Rich to kind of walk us through your overall thoughts of your program, understand what DPW is planning why, because they are deep into this every day of the week.
I'm sure they are,
And
yes.
when we understand their priorities and the enormity of the task at hand, I think it will help us to see where we can be of help and not be just crying in the wind for something that is way off away from the center core of what they need to do on a daily basis. That's all.
Okay.
I think, we've had a lot of snow. Maybe like.
We may get
All
more.
right, maybe around May or June, have
Yeah,
them
thanks,
come
Peter,
in.
from far away.
Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe early summer, we could ask Rich and Calvin to come in and kind of just lay out where the overall ethic of how things are they seem proceeding for a while. Not that we're going to critique it, but just so we better
Right.
understand it as a committee.
Sure.
yeah.
That sounds like a
Yeah,
great
we will
idea.
have
That
had,
does.
I think that would be doable.
Absolutely.
So in the
Yeah.
May,
I think
June
that sounds doable,
timeframe?
right?
All right,
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
okay, great.
And we will have had the benefit
Risk
of
and
the
testicle pounds.
Maytown meeting. Okay, now, I don't see it specifically on the agenda, but under other business, shouldn't we look at the minutes of last meeting, February 2nd, and see if we can approve those?
Yes, I forgot to put that on there.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Doug, thank you.
Prentice.
Who second?
I'll second.
What are we
Who's that,
moving
George?
here?
Bob?
Approve the minutes of the February
approve the
2nd
minutes.
meeting.
Okay.
Okay, discussion?
Is there anything I
Finally,
missed on those?
Yeah, you missed an E.
Oh,
But that can be done in the next one.
okay.
Okay,
Well,
Any
you
oth-
can send me whatever typos, I'll submit it. If you send me the typos, I'll submit it with whatever revisions someone sends me.
okay.
So, all in favor?
Oh, we
Aye,
have to
Douglas
vote?
Prentice.
Okay. I vote aye.
Hi, Jeff Deering.
Hi, Calvin Sutton.
George Meservey.
I, Stephanie Gaskell.
I, Joel Porton.
I, Bob McDonald.
Okay,
Okay,
that's unanimous. Do we want to, since we had more than a quorum of committee members at our community meeting, I also had to submit an agenda for that, and I have to submit minutes for that as well. And I did send them out to you.
Yeah.
They were in the packet. So could we also get a vote on that so that I could get those submitted as well?
Okay, so the agenda, that was very brief.
Do you want to
make a
wait and have
motion.
everybody look at those February 3rd minutes at another time if you haven't all looked at them? I didn't send them out prior to the packet. I included them in the packet, but I hadn't sent them out ahead of time for everyone to look at. So
Right,
I don't know if everyone has had a chance to look at it or not. Do you want to put that vote off?
Yes,
Yeah, I was just looking to see what the,
please.
All right, we'll put that vote off. We'll make, next meeting, we will have everybody take a look at those February 3rd minutes and make sure they're correct.
okay,
They were very general,
yeah,
but they were required,
okay.
since we had more than a quorum of committee members at the
Oh,
meeting.
wait a minute, I see what they look like. Oh, okay, so,
I also sent you out each a
oh,
breakdown
I
of,
see, the meeting minutes, yeah,
I'll send them out again,
okay,
the February 3rd meeting. I'll
Yeah.
send the meeting minutes of that out again and ask everybody to look at it, and we'll
okay,
take a vote on it next time. I also,
Okay.
in that same group, sent out a summary of what each speaker had said.
right, yeah, no, I saw that. I saw both of them, yeah, so if people are not familiar with it, we could put it off until next time, but I'd be willing to vote them. No, okay, we'll give people time to look at them. They were done, that's a very good job, Stephanie, appreciate it. There we go. Okay,
I think I got
Well-
everything we needed for agenda planning for our next meeting. It's Monday, April 6th.
right, okay.
Is there anything on the
Motion.
agenda that we need to add that we didn't talk about that anyone wants to see on there?
I'm wondering if we could follow up, last month when Bob and I did the presentation for West Road and Salty Ridge, one of the things was the signs, the motorists give 4 feet. And I'm wondering if that's something that we could discuss, feasibility, is it something we want to do, pros and cons, availability from the Mass DOT, if they're still there. I believe they're supposed to be free from Mass DOT,
All right.
if we could add
Yeah.
that.
I was over in Marston Mills the other day, and I did see that they had a sign that was very plain, but I thought it was very effective because it was different. And it was, instead of, when we have the Shero signs, it's like it shows the car and someone on a bike and, like share the road. This was different than that. It was just a black and white sign and said, it was very direct, I forget what the words were, but it caught your eye because it was a very direct sign like, I think it said something like, bikes have equal use of the road, something like that, but it was just a more direct statement. It was a little different, so that you noticed it, because you see those Shero signs everywhere, and this just kind of catches your eye because it was a little different. I'll take a photo of it next time I'm by there. I don't know if you know the one.
There
I'm-
is, state guidance on that sign, so we probably want to follow that, and it's probably the one that you had sent around. I think it's like a photo of a bike that says, share the road, give bicycles 4 feet or something. It's pretty
Yeah,
simple, but they are advising us to, the new advice is to change it out with our current signs that we have with the vehicle.
Yeah, the road.
really? They feel that the DOT feels that's a more effective sign than just the plain ones?
Yes,
Oh.
that's their new guidance for the 4 feet, because it's a new law.
The yellow is kind of advisory and it's confusing. Share, how do you share the road? As opposed to the new law that's white and it's, yes, give 4 feet. You're allowed to cross the double lines.
Okay.
Yeah.
I drove
Also,
around, we have
agenda-
like 25 share the road signs
Yeah.
that I counted, and there's probably more that I missed. There's a lot of share the roads.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can put that on the agenda.
Thank you.
And actually, under other business maybe, Scott was to have given a report to the select board on electric bikes.
That was on February 4th. It was-
Yeah,
I think it's still available, that you can still listen to it.
oh, okay,
The recording at the select board meeting.
okay. Okay, great. Okay, anything else before a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Okay. Second?
I'll second it.
Second,
Doug.
Doug Campos.
Okay, I vote aye. Oh, any discussion? Okay, I vote aye.
Jeff Deering, aye.
Calvin Sutton, aye.
George Masuvi, aye.
Stephanie Gaskell, aye.
Joel Porton, aye.
McDonald, aye.
Doug Prentice, aye.
Thank you, I got tired.